Hello, welcome to Revelator Alpha for another live show from the workshop. I hope you're all well. And so this live show from the workshop in the evening here in the UK. It's just turned 8 o'clock. So I'm going to be discussing quite a few things, having a bit of a chin wag about lots of different things really, and you can ask any questions or cover any topic, and I'll get into it. So first of all, I just wanted to give you a little bit of update. If you've been watching the videos or the live streams the last couple of days, I've been doing a few of those from also the last couple of weeks or so. I've been doing a few of those from the workshop, engine strip downs, rebuild carb strip downs, that kind of thing, discussing different things. So one of the things that I did was about cleaning pod filters, and I said I was going to clean it. And basically what I've done, I've just done it this evening with some paraffin, and basically clear paraffin, not paraffin, we're on talking diesel, clear diesel, and I just got it, from the local garage, and put my pod filters in there, and it's basically turned black. Well, pretty black. So it just goes to show that if you're cleaning your air filters or anything like that, just putting some, submerging them in paraffin for a couple of days really does clean them out. And then you just have to dry them, wash them with soapy water, and then you then just re-oil them. Let me just get them and I'll show you. Just hold on 1 second. I'm not sure if you're going to see this very, so I don't want to tip it all on the floor, but there you go. Maybe you can see how dirty it all is. I mean, look at that. That's basically just from submerging those pod filters into that. I'm just letting them soak overnight and give them a good old wash tomorrow. But it just goes to show, doesn't it? And put that back. There you go. Right. Okay, I thought I'd quickly show you that because I got a couple of messages afterwards saying, well, how effective is diesel or paraffin or whatever, in cleaning parts or cleaning pod filters and all that sort of stuff. I thought, well, I have to do it anyway, so I thought I'd quickly show you. So that's it. If you're ever going to do like a service, so I'm just about to do a service on my Harley, change the oils, all that kind of stuff. But one of the things I do is go through the air filter as well and give that a good old clean. So basically, that's what I'll be doing with that. I'll take it off, clean it with diesel, with paraffin, and then completely wash it out with hot soapy water. Let it dry, stick it back on there, bish, bash, bosh, done. Preacher Adams, hello there. Hey, greetings from Florida. Sorry, I was wrestling a toll. Oh, well, there you go. I hope you didn't pay too much. Is it wrestling a toll or a troll? But anyway, listen, so those, those little jobs, when you do a service on your bike, I think, you just do a little bit extra and you'd be surprised at what you find or what dirt and grime kind of accumulates. A troll. It was a troll. Well, I hope you won. But there we go. The trolls are everywhere. Preach, the trolls are everywhere. Believe you me. Anyway, so listen, we're going to be talking anything you like, really. Ask any questions about stuff. Now, one of the things I'm going to be talking about tonight is I'll dig into it a little bit later on, is project build costs, really. And when I say I get this question all the time, I don't get it all the time, but it comes up every now and again, a regular thing. Either people who've not done it before, or they're just generally interested into how much these things cost. So, so I'll dig into that a little bit later on, and I'll give you a couple of examples of obviously the one that I'm working on, the one that I finished a few months ago, and then how that relates to other sort of projects or mini projects that you can do as well. So that's that. The other thing I wanted to talk about is a little bit of Harley-Davidson news. Actually, I've stopped doing the old Harley-Davidson news per se. I'm not really going to be making those kinds of videos anymore. But what I did say was, if I am going to discuss Harley-Davidson or anything like that, then I'll do it in a live show. And one of the criticisms that I had from certain people, let's say, was that when I was talking about certain things or quoting that I've read something, that I wasn't showing where I'd read it. So I thought tonight I'd actually show you where I read this information, and it's quite interesting. I think because Harley-Davidson have been in the news recently. One of the things that they've done, they've just released the DElDiablo, the Icon bike, and I'm not sure what to make of this, to be quite honest with you. It's it's a nice looking bike. It's got the 117 engine. It's got the performance air filter in it there as well. I mean, it looks nice. I mean, I saw the ST the other day riding around, and all I could say, it's just not for me. It's just not for me. I like the low rider. I like the bags. Obviously, got a Sport Glide. I like the bags, but I just don't like this ST. I don't know. There's something about it. I just don't. I'm still not 100% sure about the whole ST thing. I'm not sure about this DElDiablo either. I just think they could have come out with a better Icon bike. Personally, I just think it would have been a better Icon bike than that. Yeah, Preacher, you don't hate it. Yeah, exactly. I think I'm the same. I don't hate it. I just don't love it. And I think that's where I'm at as well. I just don't love it. And I think, do you know what it is? I think it's almost like here, they've taken, obviously they make no bones about it. They've taken the look off that West Coast look, the one that, the Matt Laidlaw, did his build a few years ago. The Coast Glide was it? He took a Sport Glide and, did it very much in that kind of way. And I think they've gone for that look as well, haven't they? They've kind of made no bones about it. That's exactly what they've done. They've sort of copied that style. So it just goes to show that individuals can influence, or a movement can influence how manufacturers react. And I think they've done it, but I just don't think that it needed to be done with this. And that's where I'm at with it. I wasn't sure about the STs anyway. And I wasn't sure whether the DElDiablo as an Icon bike was the right thing to do. I mean, I hear many criticisms about the STs. I hear lots of positives as well, of course I do. But I hear many criticisms about the STs in general. And most of it is just that they feel that from somebody who rides a Sport Glide, the bags on a Sport Glide sit slightly lower, and there's lots of people saying these bags are just too high. It just ruins the line of the Lowrider S. I kind of tend to agree with that. I think they should be sitting a little bit lower. I also think that fairing on there, I just don't like the shape of it. I think it's a bit too angular. It's a bit too. Let me try and put a better shot on it. It's a bit too angular. And in this color scheme, in the DElDiablo, the bike looks really dated to me. I don't know. I mean, let us know your thoughts on that. I mean, yeah, it's just odd. It's just an odd bike to bring out, I think. I mean, this front view here, this just reminds me of like an 80s Goldwing, to be honest with you. It just looks a bit, I don't know. It just looks a bit naff, for want of a better word. And I just think that as a company, yeah, you want to bring out Icon bikes, and people rumoring about the Icon bike, the next one, was going to be you know, sportster type bike. It was going to be, or influence type bike. Is an Elvis Presley bike, you know, influenced. So there was lots of rumors going around, and then they came out with this, and it was just a bit. Well, I was just a bit flat by it. I don't know. I mean, let us know your thoughts about this, whether in the chat or in the comments later on. But I just think it was a little bit. Do you know what? I'll tell you exactly where I'm at with this. Let me just turn that on and bring that down a bit there. Sorry, I'm a little bit. There we go. I'll tell you where I'm at with this ST, full stop, is this. I just wonder, this is not saying that somebody who's bought an ST is wrong, and I'm not saying that they've made a mistake, because, you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You either like these things or you don't you? Right. But I just, you know, and I think it's a great bike, and I think they're a great series of bikes, but I just don't necessarily, as Preacher said, I don't necessarily love them. I mean, I don't necessarily hate them. I just don't necessarily love them either. But I just got to think, are we looking at a bike or a series of bikes here that in a few years' time, people are going to be looking back on them and going, shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't have released that. I've got a sneaking feeling that there's going to be, it's almost like they've jumped into a bit of a fashion trend with the STs, and I think that fashion would change, or people would say, well, I'm not going to go this ST route. I'm just going to build my own performance bagger and you know, do it in my own way, because that's the fun of it, making it your own, as it were, and not buying something that's somebody else's vision, as you know what I mean. I've just got a feeling that this is going to later on, you know, in a few years' time, I think people are going to look, you know, like all these bikes that have come out, any manufacturer, they, from time to time, they release a bit of a dodo, don't they? They release, dud. I'm not saying, I mean, the STs, by all accounts, are selling like hotcakes, or the orders are going like hotcakes. I don't know. Yeah, it's like Taco Bell, same ingredients, just arranged differently. Yeah. I mean, look, it's a great. It's almost like sometimes that they should have done something else with this icon bike. I'm a great believer. I don't think they should have brought out this ST. I know if it's an FXRT, it just looks old and dated to me. As I say, it reminds me of, you know, you're riding an old, maybe not a gold wing, but an old silver wing or something like that, you know, from the 80s, something like that. Shari Penn, hello there. I would have done anything other than the ST as an icon bike. Heritage Fat Boy, I actually like the ST, not sure if it's a keeper though. Yeah, do you know what? I wonder how many people think like this. I wonder how many people are looking at the STs, all of them, and thinking, yeah, you know, now that the dust has settled on them, if you know what I mean, now they've been out for a few months, you know, people have got used to them. You wonder how many people are going to go, yeah, this is a great bike. I'm sure there are. I'm sure they're great bikes to ride, and I'm sure they fit in with what a lot of people are after. But any new bike will do that. Any new bike will grab the attention. But what I'm saying is, now the dust has settled in the next few years, 2-3 years, you say, you know, are these going to be 3-year models, or are they going to be models that last for a lot longer? I've got a feeling, a sneaking feeling. I've got nothing to back this up at all. I've got a feeling these are 3-year models, and that's it. If anything, you know, I would not be surprised, because it's latched onto a trend, a fashion trend, and trends change and fashions change. And I suppose all those, you know, if I was from the West Coast of the United States, who was in this kind of movement, or going to lots of you know, rallies and things like that over there, and lots of people were turning up on these, you know, the bikes that we had built, and we'd come up with this this way of customizing it, say, then all of a sudden all these, you know, new kids on the block, as it were turning up to the rallies, and you'd be thinking, you know, you'd be thinking, oh, well, what's all this about? This is supposed to be our thing. And now all of a sudden you come around with a ready-made, ready-bought one. And if that was me, I would be like, okay, right, I'm going to think about something else now. I'm going to make something else, and that's how the movement changes, and that's how the style changes, and that's how the trend changes. So I just wonder then, you know, in 2 or 3 years' time, will the STs just be outdated? You know, outdated, out of fashion. You know, there'll be a new technology that's just, well, it's not new technology, but you know what I mean. It's a new technology, new design, new thinking that just goes out of fashion. It's not classic. It's not classic, and I think for the icon bike, it's, you know, why have something that the ST, like, it's just like the STs. Why have something that's just like the STs that's just come out? It just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, quick 2008 here. Why making a new on the market bike, icon bike, the same? Yes, exactly right. This is exactly my point. Quick, yeah, STs have just come out. It's new to the market. It's a new bike. So why make it an icon bike? I just don't get it. I just don't get the whole point of that. It's an ST with a paint scheme. You know, you know. Yeah, look, you could go to the Harley-Davidson website, and they give you all the blurb and all the marketing stuff. It's great, you know, that's fine. They're pushing it, aren't they? And I don't know how many of these are going to be made or how many are going to be delivered around the country. I've got a feeling, and let me just have a quick look here while I'm talking to you. I think they are going for £25,000 in this country, in the UK. I think that was correct. 25,000. Let's have a look here. Collections, icons. It was, I'm sure it's 25,000. Let us know what they are in the States. Here we go. See the bike. So it's a bit slow there. Yeah, £25,495. So, you know, that's interesting. That's 25,400. Let's have a look at the lowrider ST. Let's have a look at the standard one. Now that should be right. Not okay. So that starts at £19,995. So that's £5,500 more for the icon bike, which is essentially the same. It's the only thing that I can think of that is different on the icon is the sound system. Is that right? Is that right, anybody? Is that it? That's the only, obviously the paint scheme as well. But is that the difference? You know, that it's just got a sound system on it. I mean, I just think that's a bit, you know, an extra £5,000. Yeah, I know these, you know, it's all relative, isn't it? What you want to pay for it. But I don't know. I mean, look, you know, look, exactly right. You know, why didn't you? Yeah, and because they were talking about this, a fat boy, you know, doing a fat boy, doing a heritage or something like that, doing an iconic one of those, you know, from the past. Yeah, just different paint and sound system, Shari. Yeah, I thought it was. That's a lot of money, £5,500 in this country, of course. In the United States, in Canada, and around Europe, I have no idea what the prices are, but I would imagine there's a similar kind of price difference, right? Yeah, weird. It's a weird one. You know, and again, I just wonder why they would do that. I just wonder why they would, you know, bring out a bike that is just as an icon that's just been released. It's not iconic enough. It's not. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It can't be iconic because it hasn't been around long enough. You know, an icon is something that has been around a long time, that is influenced, that is everything, you know. Morris, any other colors? Not keen on the red. Okay, there are two colors, but I think they're both red. One is, I forgot what it is. I'll have to bring it back up. Actually, let me just bring it up here. Here we go. It is. One is called. Where are you? Come on. It is right. So there we go. Now, DElDiablo bright red and DElDiablo dark red metallic fade. So I assume, yeah, I assume that's what they are. The two. DElDiablo bright red and DElDiablo dark red metallic fade. So, oh, unless that is the 2 color shades on there. Yeah, so I think it's just one. I think it's just one color. That's what it is, you know. I don't know. I mean, I think that they had a real opportunity to make a classic Sportster or something like that. You know, I think they had a real opportunity. I think they had an opportunity to make a classic Fat Boy or a classic, yeah, as you say, a Heritage or something like that. Something from, you know, the 60s or the 70s or something like that. Something that was, you know, iconic at the time. And, you know, I think that, you know, the FXRT influence and just bringing out a more expensive ST bike with a sound system and red color. No, I'm not so sure about that, but there we go. So anyway, listen, what do you think of it? I mean, as I say, let's have a better look at that, that sound system. Yeah, it's going to come. Yes, it's basically going to come. The speakers are going to be on the side there, aren't they? Something like that. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know how many of these. I don't know how many of these are actually going to be sold. As I say, it's a swing and a miss. They were hoping that the DElDiablo thing would appeal to the Sons of Anarchy and Mayhem. Well, do you know if they were going to do that, they should have done a different fairing for a start. You know, a totally different fairing. If that's the crowd they were kind of looking for, you know, if the club style, as it were, that club style, you know, I'm not so sure that whole thing. Club style, yeah, fine. You know, if you wanted to do a bike in a club style, if you wanted to do a bike as an icon bike, let's say as a club bike, club style bike, you know, like a diner type thing, and just say, right, okay, this is where we're going to go with that. Okay, I would get that. I would feel that. If you say you wanted to do something like a you know, really popular Sportster from your, or Sportster, you know, Sportster, you know, inspired bike, yeah, I would get that as well. And or, you know, something like a, you know, you know, you can get a an old Fat Boy or a Fat Bob, anything other than what they've done here. I just think was a bit, I don't know. I just think it's a bit wrong. I mean, look, but anyway, listen, that's them. I mean, I keep on getting emails from Harley-Davidson. I'm sure you do too, and I'm sure everybody does who's ever, you know, bought anything from them. And they keep on talking about this new apparel, this new merchandise that they've come in. Look, I mean, I saw a couple of them I saw, and I thought, oh, okay, so I've always liked these kinds of shirts, these work shirts and everything like that. I know people wouldn't wear them for work and everything, but I've always liked them. And the Harley-Davidson on there, and it's not my style per se, but I kind of like them. And I thought, look, Harley-Davidson, yeah, that's fine. They're expensive, of course it is, but you know, they're not the only ones who are doing it. So I had a little look around, and I get emails from other manufacturers as well. And look, Triumph are doing the whole thing as well. They've you know, they're really pushing this enduro branded clothing, you know, to, you know, with their Tiger 1200, which they just released a few months ago, and they're really pushing that. And you know, there's, you know, this, it's all right, I mean, if you like that kind of thing, but this is my favorite one here. Look at this, it's like he's coming out of jail. It's like he's running off a chain gang or something. Either that, you should be doing mimes or something. But check out this picture here, right? Now, you tell me whether a split second later, that rider, that biker dropped that bike in the dirt. That looks very much as if he's turned in and he's basically he's dropping it any minute. Let's have a closer look at this one. Look at that. He's basically turned in and he's got stuck in the mud, and that basically, that bike is going over. I would love to know if that's exactly what happened there. they filming that and thought, right, we've got the perfect shot, and then a split second later, he's eating dirt. I've got a feeling that's the case. A Springer, I get, no, Shari, a Springer, yes. Why not? Why not? Occasionally watch, some of these old bike builders and these, and they've, coming out with their newer stuff. It's still, there's still a Springer would have been great. Something like that would have been brilliant. Just to have something. And if they want to push the M8, you push the M8, but you've got something like that. But there we go. But there we go. Quick 2008. You won't get a lot for the additional price HG is asking for. Furthermore, the prices are insane. Yes, Sport Glide is 50% above last year. Yeah, I mean, all the prices have gone up. I'm not going to start here bashing all the prices and everything because we know they're expensive anyway. But obviously, the whole prices have gone up anyway. And just so I mean, this is an interesting thing. So from my point of view, because I like to look at all sorts of different things, right? So one of the criticisms that I was getting from certain people was that I wasn't showing the evidence of what I was saying in some of these videos, right? In the past, when I was talking about Harley-Davidson, how, they might be under threat or they might be under problems. So I had a hold on, which one is it? This right. I found I'd be looking at something today, would you believe? And then I came across this article, right? So I'm going to share it with you and sort of read it through because it makes quite an interesting read, I think. Here we go. Hold on. So this one, okay. So Harley-Davidson are targeted by 2 US action lawsuits. There's one from California and one from Wisconsin. These are basically as a result of Harley-Davidson, having the FTC issues and, saying that people couldn't repair their bikes or they avoid warranties if non-standard parts are used and all that kind of stuff. Basically, they've had to, they were found guilty of that. There is a condition here, though, that is saying that if there is a direct link, whether the improper installation or the non-standard part has caused damage to the bike or caused damage to other parts on the bike, then that will still void the warranty. So I think that is the case. But this is an interesting one where there's still the class actions being brought against Harley-Davidson. One is to do with it's in conflict apparently with the it's in conflict apparently with California state law, but there's also the Wisconsin one is all to do with something completely different. What was it? Hold on, I'll have to read. Let me just quickly read the article, which was these usual all sorts come after an agreement was reached with Harley-Davidson US Federal in a case. Branded person. Okay, so the California lawsuit is in relation to Californian competition laws, as well as other statutes that Harley-Davidson has is alleged to have broken. While so the Wisconsin case relates to antitrust provisions. I don't even know what that means. Antitrust provisions, no idea. So basically, this story isn't going away. Let me just stop that. This story isn't going away at all. Harley-Davidson, they're going to come under increasing pressure here from, I'm sure, lots of people who, either individuals or businesses, who are fed up with, the way they've acted over the last few years and basically been taking people for a ride. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes on and on. So that's just a report of the current state of play that is public knowledge, and that came from a site over here called Visor Down, which is a big motorcycle website as well. But there's another one here that's quite interesting. Let me just say this one. Right, so this is the other site that I saw, or the article that I saw. Is it this one? Yeah, this one here. Right. So this is from an stocks and shares investment website, and I'm not going to read through the whole article, but it basically breaks down where the income has come from, where Harley-Davidson earn their income, and they're saying whilst they have done a bit better, they think it's a false representation in certain degrees of certain respects of how Harley-Davidson have recovered a little bit. And they talk about the fluctuating stock prices, and they talk about the effect of Livewire, the company that's going to be floated as well, and the effect of that, and all this kind of stuff. But they're basically saying is that the effect of the pandemic and coronavirus and this kind of delayed effect on manufacturers is that as I've always been saying, and people have dismissed me for saying it, but I've always said that there'd be changing habits, changing buying habits, changing people dealing with personal economic issues, and they won't be going for big ticket items. And it kind of talks about this in this website. It also talks about exchange rates and how Japanese currency is doing a lot better than US currency. Therefore, the manufacturers of Japanese bikes are going to be able to sell those a lot easier, a lot cheaper than the American bikes. It goes on and on and on. But basically, what it's saying there, that it's assuming that the profits are going to fall, the share price is going to fall again. And this is what they're saying. They're saying that a lot of investors are going to go short on Harley-Davidson stock because they think the price is going to go down. In other words, they're going to sell now and just wait until it drops to start rebuying it again. And this is all due to what they think is the Harley-Davidson is not going to do well at all, or they've been doing better than people have given them. They've been doing better than a lot of people thought they would do, but then they're really not doing as well. They're really not doing well at all. But there we go. Look, I mean, I just find that interesting. That when people, rattle the sabers, as it were, and just start saying, no, Harley-Davidson's this, Harley-Davidson's that, and you got to say, well, I read things that, or I get sent information, or I read things that is completely contrary to what other people are saying. So yeah, I mean, people have asked me, well, where to get information. It's there. There you go. I've just shown you where that information is. And I suppose I've got to say, a lot of this stuff I don't fully understand. A lot of this finance stuff. So I'm just there's other there are other websites here. Hold on, let me just show you this one, because this is, again, I don't know this really. I mean, it's all about Joshin Zeitz, or Joaquin Zeitz, whatever his name is, how he's buying stock or how he's bet on stock, and it's about how the price is going up and down and all this sort of stuff. And you kind of go, what does that mean? So if you're a finance guy, you're a gal, you'll kind of understand all this sort of stuff. But a lot of it is down to people saying, oh, this is it's not all rosy, and I'm sure they're not alone, because loads of companies are going to be doing that. They're probably going to be projecting better than they're actually doing, and there's only a few degrees of separation, as I always say, from doing well and not doing well, and then all of a sudden things start to come in. I mean, let's be under no illusion here. Things haven't been right with a lot of Harley-Davidson stuff for a long time, in terms of parts, in terms of availability, the production. But obviously, they're like a lot of manufacturing companies who have struggled with that. I've taken myself completely out of the loop here, in that I've stopped looking at this kind of stuff, because I thought, you know what, it's not doing me any good either. But also, I just thought, well, it doesn't really relate to me, because I'm not buying a new bike. I'm not searching for a new bike. I'm not really searching for parts on my bike. If I need parts on my bike, if I want to go Harley, I will. If I don't, I won't. As simple as that. Just like the other day, I say I went to get some oil from Harley. I got the sump plug O-rings, which I had them already here, like a donut when I bought them. And I bought some transmission and primary fluid. But I thought, well, the only reason I bought the Formula Plus actually from Harley-Davidson, because I was there and I thought I saw it on the shelf and I thought, oh yeah, okay, I'll have that. The other reason was that I bought some Castrol mineral oil, 2050 mineral oil for this time instead of using the Harley. So I thought, well, I'll keep with the Formula Plus, but next time I'll go with a fully synthetic and then do that and probably use a fully synthetic oil in all three spaces. But anyway, but I think so. I don't really use Harley Davidson, or I'm not invested, if you know what I mean, in trying to find out about if Harley Davidson do well, they do well. If they don't, they don't. But I think as in terms of company, in terms of what you think about them and what they are, I don't think there's any doubt that they are just the same as any other company. They are doing the best they can in difficult circumstances. You got. Oh yeah, one of the other interesting points on that website article was to say that financial investigation was saying that a lot of their income comes from the 4 different like merchandise, obviously motorcycles. One of them, I forgot what the other one was, but one of them was their financial sales of their insurance policies and finance agreements and all that kind of stuff. Well, so obviously with inflation and high interest rates and everything that's affecting that. So that's going to dramatically affect the income on that. So therefore, not only are they not going to be selling bikes, but they're not going to be able to sell the finance on the bikes as well. So that's going to have a big knock-on effect as well. So listen, it's there. The information is there for people to have a look at this. And you judge for themselves to say, but if you're interested in that, I suppose you're only going to be interested if you're thinking about buying a brand new bike. You're only going to be interested in Harley Davidson as a company, really, or as a dealership if you need parts for your bike and you can't get them for whatever reason. But with this FTC ruling, now I'm finding against Harley Davidson, now you can basically work on your bike, put any parts you like within the first 2 years of the warranty period, and it shouldn't affect your warranty at all, especially if it doesn't do any damage to it. So that's good. Okay, so that's that. I mean, I wanted to talk really about. Let me just get rid of that. I wanted to talk now a lot more about costs of project builds, because I get asked this quite a lot. Let me just have a quick slurp of coffee. And people kind of, I think people get scared of project builds, and I would say quite rightly, because they just don't know how much these things are going to cost. There's a dream that you want to do a project build, right? And you think, oh yeah, I'm going to build a bike, I'm going to restore a bike or a car. It could be anything, right? I'm going to build a bike and restore a car. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then the reality hits home and you think, crikey, I wish I'd never bothered doing this. And the reality is, either it becomes much more of a difficult task than you thought. It involves a lot of skills that you may not have, or you have to pay somebody else to do, right? Or it's you find really big problems with it and you just can't do it. So you either lose money, you either run out of money, you run out of ideas, or you run out of patience. So that's why I wouldn't say most, a lot of project builds fall by the wayside. And or you decide to go from you decide to go from a position of that you're really interested or really enthusiastic to a point is the way you just, it sits in the back of the garage and you don't do anything. So to see something through right to the end is, is quite a challenge in itself, I'd say. The other thing here you got to understand is that, project builds can be really expensive or not very expensive at all. It just depends. It depends on what you find, what bike you're buying in the first place, where you're trying to get the parts from, what availability of parts are there for you, and so on and so forth. So, it's very difficult. So, but I thought I'd give you a quick rundown of that 125 project build, which I did. And I bought it for about £500, and I spent about another £900 on it. Now, that included a few extra parts, cover parts, hand guards, that kind of thing. But most of it was just finding extra little parts here and there, buying manuals, buying connectors, wiring connectors, that kind of thing. It was, hoses, all the kind of things that you don't really think that you'll need. Gasket set for the engine. Obviously, I need a new gearbox on it, so I put a new gearbox in there, new set of gears, I should say. So all these little things add up, and they just add up, and they add up. And it's the things that you don't think will add up, and those are the ones that get you in the end. So brake levers, master cylinder, rear brake light switch. It's a hydraulic switch. All these kinds of things you didn't think were needed, and then all of a sudden you find that you really do need it. I mean, it was a nail, that one as well. So I mean, I always say, and this is difficult to justify sometimes in a project build, but I would say, buying the very best that you can afford is probably the best way to go. If you buy a nail, in other words, if you buy a bike or a car that's in really terrible repair, it's going to cost you a hell of a lot of money. So much so that you probably spend more on it than the bike is worth or the car is worth, whatever. That's it. Because especially if you cannot do the work yourself. If you cannot do the work yourself, or you don't have a big workshop where you've got lots of spare nuts and bolts, lots of fasteners, connectors, whatever, it's that you've already got it in stock that you could just use, then it's, you have to start. If you have to start buying everything, then it's going to cost you a lot of money, and and all these things just add up. They add up and add up. So as I say, with that build there. With everything, about another £900. So let's just £1,000. So let's just say £1,500. That's cost me. That bike's not worth £1,500. It might be to somebody if I'm absolutely lucky, but you got the flip side to this, and people always talk about this as well. It's not, you shouldn't be doing project builds for the end value, but it's also about the experience, of building something, the experience of knowing that you've built it or rebuilt it or taken it apart and put it back together again, the fun, the enjoyment out of it, that's, so it's worth £900, just for that experience. But bear this in mind, that just because you successfully finish the project build, it doesn't necessarily mean that your expenses stop there, because project builds, they do have a tendency to come back and bite you again. So you might have other problems to deal with a little bit later on, or problems that you didn't think you had, then all of a sudden they come back. So just like this one, the bike was running absolutely fine. It was electrically and mechanically sound. It was got it back on the road legally. I was riding it around on trails and all that sort of stuff. But it's an old tired bike, and whilst I renewed everything to a certain degree or refurbished stuff, it's still an old tired bike, an old engine. So I was on a trail about 5 miles of. Yeah, sorry, got some stuff under my feet. About 5 miles away, 4.5, 5 miles away from my home, and all of a sudden it just broke. the engine just broke on me, and it's just I got video say coming out about it. So I had to push it home, which is a right bugger, and it, the engine was just terrible. And basically, it's just an old tired engine. I thought something had blown, snapped in there, and luckily it hadn't. It was just a cam chain issue. But this, the engines are, this is a Chinese engine in this bike, and there's nothing against Chinese engines per se, but it didn't have much literature. The literature that I had, like in manuals, was wrong for it. I had to have different manuals that covered different parts of the engine. And so yesterday, or the day before, whatever it was, yesterday, I finally put it back together. I've taken that engine apart so many times now, just to try and fault find what was the problem. But I put a new gasket set on. I probably need another gasket set on it now as well. So I've just kind of put it together just to get it running, and it runs, fine now, absolutely fine. But it takes a lot of tinkering. So if you want a bike that you're always going to be tinkering with, great. But it's in terms of the cost of it, that's just gonna keep on mounting up. So it really depends. People say ask me about this, and I think, well, a classic one now. This is a classic one that I wanted to show you. This bike here, right? There you go. That bike there. That is the frame, the tank. I've got the seat there. I got the panels left and right. The engine is on the workbench there. That's all been put back together. I've just split all the carbs. If you watch that other live show, put them all back together now as well. I'm just waiting on one jet needle. That jet needle that I was missing from it, right? Remember, what you got to understand is that this new project build, the Kawasaki, everything was in bits, everything was in boxes. Okay, I've had to rebuild everything so far, and just take one thing at a time and just to rebuild it. So, but try not to spend any money. But I'm already 200. Okay, I got all the parts that I had for a lot of money. So £250. That was so bargain in that respect, right? However, the gaskets I've had to buy so far, that's been another, and bits and pieces for it already. It's been about, I think it's over £100, and I haven't even got I haven't got anything working at all. This little jet needle, I had to pay about, I think it's over £10, £10.50 or something. Another £5 for packaging, for delivery, would you believe? Because it's the other side of the country or wherever it is, right? So that's £15 just for a poxy little jet needle for a set of carburetors that I don't even know are going to be great. So that's it. If you might be lucky, you might have a full set of carburetors that are fully functional, fully working. You might just need to clean them up, but you got all the parts. But all of a sudden, you come across something and you think, that's missing. That part is missing. So I went through all the parts on this bike because I was under the impression that it had everything. Everything was there that you needed just to put it back. I'm not blaming the guy. I know the guy. He was just, being honest. He thought that's what he had, but there isn't. There's so many parts missing. So then you think, right, okay, 250 for the parts, the engine, the frame, all the big stuff I've got, but it's all the small things that I haven't got, like hoses, lines, the electrics. I have to redo everything. The brackets I'm gonna have to make a lot of. Footrests I've got, handlebars I've got, wheels, I've got wheels, I've got half brake calipers. So this is kind of thing where you have to start adding up. That was the same thing, the same problem with that other project build, was trying to find brake calipers and brake pads for it as well. It all adds up. You start adding lots and lots of money, you see. So this is it. You can start a project build, and sometimes you think, right, I really want to get this done, but cost or availability of parts, just in an ideal world, you'd live right next door to a motorcycle breaker's yard, or something that they've got thousands of bikes there, just like they seemingly have in Arizona, United States, or whatever, and people can just drive in and see a car and they think, oh yeah, that's great. But a lot of us don't have that, or the way they do things over here. You know, the breakers yards don't seem to be like they were before. They're very much more, I want to say, professional. It's almost like they've stripped the cars and the bikes already. Do you know what I mean? So it's, you know, you have to see if you've got a part, and they have to see if that part is they've got it in stock, as it were. You know, you don't. I don't know. I haven't looked for a car part for a breakers many years, or a bike part for a bike breakers many years. In that you go to the vehicle, the old vehicle, and you take off the part. Usually you just phone up and you say, have you got this part? Or, you know, you go on wherever, eBay. And since eBay came out all those years ago, obviously everybody's a bike breaker, aren't they? So, or car breaker. So they break all the parts and sell everything for parts. You know, that's just the way it is. You know, so but if you lived nearby, if you had access to easy parts, it wouldn't be much of a problem. But if you don't, again, this all costs money. And then, you know, as I said, with the delivery charge on the little jet needle, you know, you start adding fuel and delivery costs and packaging and all this sort of stuff. That's where it starts to spiral out of control. Some people say, oh, I built this bike for, you know, £300 or £500. I'll be like, yeah, bollocks. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. What about the tools that you had to buy? You know, what about all the running around that you had to do? What about all this? You know, the stuff that you don't factor in. You know, if I had to include all the tools that I bought for the last project build, I'd be in the region of about £2,000, which, you know, which is a lot of money, isn't it? You know, so, you know, that's it. That's a £2,000 bike for nothing. So so there we go. Let me get into some of these. It's just a little bit. So which John, from the front, it reminds me of the R series BMW without cylinders. The DElDiablo. Yeah, I said I don't really like the look of it myself. Morris, did you drill out all the exhaust studs yourself? That was on the 750 one. Yeah. So what I've done there, I experimented actually, and I experimented with. I was going to take it off and so to get somebody to weld it up for me, because I can't do cast aluminium welding. But what I actually did, I got some what's it called, JB Weld stuff that is actually for engines, for heads, and I used that, put it together, and yeah, it's rock solid. So I can't tell you if it's going to last the test of time, but I think so far, from the looks of it, that seemed to work fine. So those studs are in there, no problem. Which is, you know, that's a product I've never used on an engine before. You know, I've always done it, you know, with the metal, as it were. But using other kinds of materials that can fix things, I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting. But there we go. So yeah, I use that JB Weld stuff on that. This engine on this 125 here, I have been looking for another engine. So, you know, went onto some forums to see if I could buy an engine from somewhere. So, because it is an old tired engine. So again, if I get one of those, that's going to be about 250 to 300 pounds for one of those, right? So you get to that point where you think, okay, well, you know, it's just like we were saying about the DElDiablo. You know, I don't hate this bike, but I don't love it either. It's just a bit of fun. So when you get to that point where you think, well, it's not really a passion build, it's not really you know, it's just a bit of a fun build. Then you start thinking, well, do I really want to spend all that money on it? Why do I just want to keep it running for myself, or do I want to let somebody else, you know, have the honor of working with it? And this is very similar to other builds that I've had in the past. They come to a point where sometimes you think, okay, do I continue with this, or do I do something different? Do I abandon it? Do I sell it on? Whatever. I had a diesel bike build, which as I was building, I got an engine. I got an engine. I got that. I stripped that down. I got the engine diesel running as well. The bike running. I had a Goldwing frame, a rolling chassis, lovely frame, lovely rolling chassis. And I was going to do all that and, put it in there. And I think it would, in many ways, I wish I kicked myself. And then I didn't stick with it. But unfortunately, I had other pressures at the time, other financial pressures. So I had to just say, look, I can't invest this money into this whim of a bike, this whim of a build. I had to put my money elsewhere, and that's essentially what I did. And I just I sold off the engine. This guy wanted it for his boat, so I sold off the engine, the diesel engine, and he got it running. He got it installed and running. It was fine. So at least my engine rebuilding skills are intact. And then I sold the Goldwing frame to somebody, I think, who's making building Goldwing as well. So I sold it. So I basically sold it all. So this is, this happens. The projects sort of come and go. I was with that diesel bike. I got also a BMW engine and gearbox, and I broke down the engine on that, and I used parts on that to connect up to the diesel engine so that it would drive the gearbox as well. So it was all getting quite technical there, and it was quite good. I don't know if you're interested in that, you can go back on my channel. You might see the playlist. It says diesel bike or something like that. There's only a couple of videos in there, but you'll see how it how it was, or how it was developing. But so I can't really remember myself. I mean, so you can have a look at it. But as I say, projects come and go. Sometimes you see them through, sometimes you don't. But there's so many different reasons why. But I think, if you've got no skills and you haven't got any tools and you want to take on a project yourself, if that's a tall order. Now, if you're just talking about getting an older bike and working on it and, trying to make it a little bit better, that's different. That's just making a little repair. You're not changing anything. You're not, bringing something back from the grave, as it were. You're just repairing something, right? That's fine. In fact, those are probably the best project builds, if you like, to do, because they don't usually take a lot of money. If you've got a completely intact bike, if you say, somebody says to you, classic one is somebody selling a bike, they haven't started it in a long, long time, it's got a flat battery or something like that, or they say the carbs might need cleaning or stuff like that. Well, it might just be that's all it is. So you get home, you charge the battery, you take off the carburetor, you split it apart at home on your kitchen table or wherever it is. Don't tell the missus. And then you just get it all clean, and guess what? Fresh fuel in there, and it fires right up. And there you go. You got a new bike. If you're not worried about the way it looks or anything like that. But as soon as things are missing, or so you have to start replacing things, that's when it gets a bit tricky, and that's when it gets a bit costly. And those costs can just go up and up and up. And it really depends what bike you've got, or where the parts are coming from, and all that kind of stuff. So project builds, I think, are great. I love working on. I love working on the mechanicals. I'm not interested, or not that I'm not interested. I just don't like working on body work or anything like that. That kind of thing. I just, bikes, I suppose, there's not a lot of body work, is there? Do you know what I mean? But cars, definitely, vans, whatever, trucks. The mechanicals I enjoyed, but the body work, no, I not interested in it at all. But engines and electrics I quite enjoy, but just like anything, you've got a new bike for whatever it is. You got a new bike to you, I should say, a new bike to you that you've never owned before, you never worked on before. Well, it's like going back to school. You have to do your study. You have to read up on it. You have to see how this thing works. How it all gets powered, all the wiring works, all that sort of stuff. So it's not just a straightforward case of, right, I got a new project build, or yeah, it's going to work. If you're really going deep into it and have to redo everything. Sometimes it's a slow process, sometimes it's a fast process. It really depends. But it's I wish, I wish I could say, that I've got a bike there, that little cheap bike that is value for money. It isn't. It isn't value for money. I spent, if I include all the tools that I had to buy to work on it, the tools I don't have, a couple of grand, which is ridiculous, for a bike like that. But 1,500 pounds without the tools, really. That's still a lot of money for that. So I could have bought a bike for 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 pounds, 1,500 pounds, a 125, trail bike. That would have been fully functioning, fully working. I wouldn't have had to spend the money on it, and it would just be fine. So so that's it. And then that's the thing. If you're looking to do a project build for whatever it is, do it for the right reasons, that you want to do a project build, not necessarily that you want to do up a bike so you can ride it around as your rider, as it were. Because if you just want to, if your goal is to ride a bike, then just go and buy a bike and ride it. Don't worry about trying to build it up, because it won't be cheaper. The chances of it being cheaper are so remote. It's a bit of a fool's errand, I think. It can be, but very rare. Usually you're going to spend the same or more on a project build than not. But there we go. But as I say, if I had to buy another one, let's say, because I was thinking about selling this 125 here, or moving it on, or just putting it in the workshop and leaving it as an ornament or something like that, but just getting a 250, something like 250 300cc as another project build. But I thought, I've got this 750 here, I don't want another project build. But I thought, well, actually, what do I do is either buy an older one, but that is fully running, fully working, and all I would need to do is just do running repairs on it if I as and when. But a fully functional bike, that's what you want. And that's the next one I would get, would be that, a fully functional bike, not one that is basically needs to be torn apart and start all over again. But there we go. Right. I think that's it. Like an hour I've been on this. So I hope you found that good. Thanks for stopping by and all that. And from the workshop, as it were, in the dark here now, but there we go. So on to the next one. I'll probably do another live session soon, maybe next week sometime, putting these carbs back together and showing you cleaning up those pod filters, that kind of thing. But there we go. Right, I am gonna call it an evening, but thanks very much for joining. So if you got any questions, we talked a little bit about the Harley-Davidson, the ST, that DElDiablo, which I don't think much to. I'm sure a lot of people do, but I don't think much to it. I talked a little bit about Harley-Davidson stories. You saw where I got the information from, and but I say I won't. That's not the kind of stuff that I'm going to do anymore, per se. But I say if it comes up or I find some information I think it's quite interesting, I'll discuss it in, let's say, a live show like this, and I'll show you exactly where it is. Camilo, hello everybody. Yeah, a bit late. Yeah, I'm just about to go. But you can go back and rewatch everything. Cheers, Morris. Right. Anyway, I need to get back in and go and watch some TV and have a top up of coffee, I'd say. But thanks everybody. Thanks for joining in, and I'll see you again. And yeah, thanks for all the support and all that kind of stuff. And I wonder if anybody checked out the little fun message I put at the bottom there. All right, catch you again. Ta-da.